Hey! Version 0.5.0 of Letter Engineer is out, and it brings some minor aesthetic changes, one minor gameplay change, and two minor bug fixes. Let's get right into it. So the first thing that you'll notice in the overworld is that we have some new little planet textures. So I've drawn a couple of these. They're planets with sort of letters on them. And the other thing you might see, especially in these ones that rotate a lot, is that their shadow stays in the bottom right. That was a fun little shader project. The other thing you might notice if you're super observant is the low contrast on these ones, which needs to get fixed, but that's something for a future update. But the reason they're low contrast is that these are now gray instead of white, and that's because I've beaten the levels already, so it's just another indicator that a level has been completed. But besides these changes in the overworld, you'll also notice some aesthetic changes inside the level. The first thing you'll notice inside a level is that we have a new ground texture. It's a bit more interesting than the green static we had before. Just a sort of moving around cellular noise. Keeps your eyes occupied as you are playing the level. But it also sets up nicely for a minor gameplay change. You'll notice sometimes these are different colors, and they actually do mean something else. I don't have a tutorial up for it yet, but the idea is, now I'm gonna put the word redeem here, fire, id, d, and this level works exactly like it did previously, but we've communicated something slightly different to the player here. Before, these two pieces of ground looked the same, and it was kind of weird that when we wrote redeem and created this hammer, it was a little bit weird that this kind of moved. Oh, I didn't realize that worked. Anyway, you can still see this is kind of clipping through the ground, and it was a little confusing for players. Why is the hammer dipping through the ground? It wasn't really explained, and it didn't really make sense. But from a gameplay perspective, it was kind of vital to get the hammer working the way I wanted. And the reason for that is, well, you kind of have to come up under the ball, and if you don't allow it to impact the ground, it becomes really, really difficult, if not impossible, to make that happen. But the gameplay change is before, this only applied, it was just that hinged structures didn't interact with any ground whatsoever, but regular structures still did. Now we just have two types of ground, and no letters interact with that ground. They all phase through it. So it doesn't really make a difference in a level where you only have hinged structures, but it does make a difference in a level where you might have some of both, or you might turn a hinged structure into a non-hinged one, like, is this it? No, this level. Hole. So this is actually going to be a little bit different than it was before. Previously, I could put a hinged structure right up against this wall, and it would be fine. So let's do A, B, R, I, D, oh, I'm off by one, D, no, I'm off by two, no, one. Okay, so now this actually can't really go any further down than it already is because it's going to collide with the wall. And that interaction previously just couldn't happen. So now I need to move it one tile to the left in order to solve that. Right, minor bugs that you probably didn't notice much, but the camera can no longer get stuck out of bounds. The other thing is, previously if I wrote a word here, then selected it, then deleted it, and added another letter here, that letter would have been highlighted. Now it's not. Now, I have a bit of a history of not having a great aesthetic sense. This isn't meant to be self-deprecating or making excuses, it's just sort of an objectively true fact about me. And you might be wondering why, despite that I know that about myself, I'm still choosing to make all these assets for the game. And the main reason is, well, I would rather not be bad at aesthetic choices, and so I'm forcing myself to make them. Of course, there's a million games out there that are gonna look a lot better, but for my own purposes, this is a nice breath of fresh air. But another somewhat sillier reason that I still fully stand by is that I kind of want to have a way of working on this game that doesn't involve all of my attention the whole time. And any sort of programming, of music composition, of design, all really cannot be multitasked in the same way that I can sort of put on audio and make some of the pixel art for these planets. And right, maintaining motivation in that way for a solo hobby project like this is pretty important. Because if I really wanted to, I could probably have done everything I've done since the initial release in about half the time. But if I did that, if I was at this point 2.5 weeks ago, I don't know if I'd still be working on the game, because that would have taken a lot out of me and been a kind of arduous journey. When there's very little external incentive to be working on this, I really have to make sure that everything I'm doing, I want to do, and I continue wanting to do when I stop. If I'm really tired of the game when I stop working on it for the night, I'm gonna have trouble going back to it the next day. And of course that's gonna happen sometimes, but I've set up a system where it doesn't happen every time. And hopefully a major improvement to that system is gonna be having these sort of more relaxing things that I can be working on. So, for now, I'm still doing as much as I can by myself. See you next week.